Alright, everybody, today is looking at the four senses. And no, this is not a typo, because in psychology, what we do is we kind of group it a little differently than some of the other sciences. So, kind of keep that in mind as we kind of go through this. But first, before we really start, this is you. Somewhat diminutive, giant meat hands that can rip off a car door, giant Mick Jagger lips and Richard Simmons tongue, and all sorts of good stuff. This is how your brain sees your body. Rather, this is how your brain sees the sensory apparatus that makes up your body. So do this little experiment. Take your hand, pinch the top of your hand. You feel it. Pinch your elbow. And what this shows ties into the little homunculus here. It shows how different parts of our body are more sensitive than others, or we use different parts of our body more than others. Again, we interact with the world with our hands. We use our hands for everything. We use it to drive. We use it to pick up our forks. We use it to type on the computer or flick through our cell phones. And we have our lips and our tongue because those are actually very, very sensitive. That's one of the reasons why small babies, they pretty much interact with everything by shoving it in their mouth. But those are very sensitive. We taste things. We eat a lot. We eat 3 meals a day. Eating is important. And, you could be eating a piece of steak and feel something slimy. You'll probably spit it out because of the sensations. But there's a lot to this little guy, and we'll come back to it at a later date. But for our purposes today, this shows how our senses, how we interact with the world, are more tied to certain parts of our bodies. So first you got your energy senses. This is pretty much all these senses. What they do is they detect a type of energy. And this energy and how they detect it gives us information about our environment. So this is your basic: vision, hearing, touch. Vision is done by light rays that enter your eyes. Hearing, sound waves that enter the ear. Touch is the pressure or the temperature that activates certain sensors in our skin that let us know that we are pushing our hands together or sitting in a chair, or that's hot or that's cold. It's yes or it's no. Chemical senses, these are your taste and your smell. Your taste has specialized cells on the tongue. These are called your taste buds. They're also found on the roof of your mouth, inside of your cheek, to a much lesser extent, but mainly they're found on the tongue. And what happens is when you take a bite of a sandwich or something, chemicals from food and other things are actually absorbed. So I have my cup of coffee. I drink it. It tastes a little bitter because I didn't put any creamer in it this time. What happens is that coffee hits my tongue. Some of the chemicals are absorbed on my tongue. That tells me my coffee's a little bit bitter. Now there's 5 main flavors, or 5 main tastes, I should say. You have bitter, salty, sour, sweet. And then you have like the meaty, savory taste that you get in steak or mushrooms called umami. And those are kind of the 5 tastes that exist. Now, smell operates a lot of the same way. Works very, very closely with our taste to create flavor. So when you eat something, you're like, oh man, this tastes so good. What you're doing is you're tasting it and you're smelling it. That's what creates the flavor. And our nose contains specialized cells called the olfactory cells that operate a lot of the same way. So when you smell something, like you smell a pretty rose or something, what happens is chemicals from the rose, the pollen, whatever, go up into your nose and touch on those olfactory nerves. They're absorbed, and that's how you know what that smells like. Same way that goes with, good meal, some, perfume, cologne. When someone goes boo boo in the bathroom too much and it's a bad burrito day, yeah, that's what you're smelling. Those particles go into your nose and tells you what you're smelling. Now, we've all been sick. We've all had colds. We've all been horribly congested, because of allergies or something. And one of the things we lose is our ability to really detect flavor. Things taste differently. That's because, our nasal cavity is full of snot, and those particles cannot get into our nose. And there's an estimate, approximately 100 different types of olfactory smells. So there's about 100 different smells, give or take, that exist. And this is why so many things can smell so different. It's because there's a lot of little different smells that are there that we can pick up on. Your vestibular sense, this is tied to your ear. And what it is you have a small little piece. It's roughly about the size of your pinky nail, give or take. And this sense creates our ability to know our body and how it's oriented. So what happens is you have this small little thing called the cochlea. Within that cochlea, or attached to that cochlea, are 3 little canals. So this is even smaller than your pinky nail. And what happens is these 3 little canals that form like a semicircle, called the vestibular organs, are filled with liquid. Or not, like they're mostly filled with liquid, and there's little micro hairs in them. And what happens is, as you move, as you walk, as you spin around on the merry-go-round, the water flows, pushes on those hairs, and that is where we get our feelings of motion, that we're moving. And, this can happen when, like, you're a little kid, you're on the merry-go-round, you spin, then you jump off and you're all dizzy. You're like, I'm about to fall over. Well, the reason for that is because, really, this. Your eyes are telling you that you're not moving. Your ears are telling you that you are moving. So your brain is getting conflicting messages. So you have one part of yourself saying that you're moving, another part of yourself saying you're not moving. Your brain really can't differentiate between the two. It gets confused. And this is where we get the feelings of nausea and dizziness that usually happens. So yeah, and this is really our sense that tells us that we're moving, that we're standing on our heads, that we're doing, whatever that we're doing. And then you got your kinesthetic senses. This is the sense that tells us about the position of our certain body parts. Mainly things like our arms and our legs. So what happens is, like, if you close your eyes and you raise your arms, Thriller. Sorry, lame joke. But you can close your eyes, raise your arms, and your arms are raised. You don't have to see them. You just know it. You can feel it. You can flex your fingers. Now, your fingers aren't touching anything, and your fingers aren't touching each other, but you can flex your fingers. But you know that they're moving. The reason for it is because throughout our muscles and our joints are a bunch of little sensors. And what those sensors do is they tell us that different parts of our bodies are actually moving. So this helps us be aware of things that we're doing, moving our arms, writing our pencil, flexing our fingers, walking. These kinesthetic sensors tell us that we're moving. And then when you sync that together with your eyes, this is actually key to that helps us be able to write. That lets us know, okay, I got the pen, I took the cap off, I picked up the little sticky note. I can write on it, on the sticky note. And my eyes tell me what I'm doing. My hands, I have all those little sensations telling me what to do. And this is really how we move. But visual stuff aside, we still have our kinesthetic senses telling us. That's why I can pick up the pen and I can write my name fairly accurately on a sticky note, even with my eyes closed. It's because of those kinesthetic sensors. And this has pretty much been the short journey through our kind of four main senses, four main types of senses, I should say. And that's about all. Peace out.